In this video, what I would like to do is yet another example of passing values or making values available on separate pages by passing them as a part of an HTTP request. At this point, we've done numerous examples that have basically done this, so what I wanted to do in this one is something a little bit more advanced, something a little bit trickier and more interesting. Essentially, what I'd like to do with this example is I would like to create the world's most boring calculator. It's going to be the world's most boring calculator because it's only going to do one type of arithmetic, and that's addition, and it's only going to be able to work with three numbers. So essentially what I've done is I've created four separate pages. I've called them Math 1, Math 2, Math 3, and Math 4. What I would like to do is on the first page, Math 1, I'd like to let the user enter a number. On Math 2, I want to let them enter a second number. On Math 3, a third number. And then on Math 4, what I'd like to do is just take the three numbers that the user entered, add them together, and show the user the answer. So let's start off here on Math 1. Here on my Math 1 page, I'm going to start by creating a form. I'm going to say I want this page to submit to Math 2 because Math 2 should be the next page in the chain. I'm going to say pass the value to it as part of a post request. And then to actually let the user enter the number, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give them a text field. I'm going to call the text field first number. There we go. So I have a label and a text field. The text field's name is first underscore number, so that is the post value that I'm going to need to access. I also want to point out here that my text field has a value attribute. This is a basic HTML attribute that all text fields have, and if I were to put something in that, that would become the default value that would initially show up in the text field. Here I want the text field to begin its existence blank, so I'm not actually going to put anything in for its value. With that done, if I hop over to my browser, refresh, I can see what my first page looks like. That's it. On my second page, Math 2, I want to do essentially the exact same thing. I'm going to create a form. This time I'm going to say submit to page 3, Math 3, again as a post request. I'm again going to provide a text field. This time I'm going to call it second number. Again, I'm not giving a default value to the text field, so the text field will begin its life blank. On the third page, same basic thing. A form that will submit to Math 4, which is actually going to be the answer page. It's going to submit its value using post, and I'm going to give it its text field. I'll call it third number. So I have my first three pages put together that collect values, first number, second number, and third number. On my fourth page then, what I want to do is simply add those together. So let me put in some PHP tags. I do want some PHP tags in the body, but actually before I use those, let me come back up to the top, put some PHP tags up above the beginning of my document. And in these, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say set the answer equal to the posted value of first number plus the posted value of second number plus the posted value of third number. So the values that were sent as part of the post requests of first number, second number, and third number all get added together. The result of that ends up being displayed here or being stored here in a variable called answer. Down in the body then, I'm just going to echo the answer is answer. Hopefully that's straightforward enough. Let's go take a look and see if it actually works. Back in my browser again, on my Math 1 page, I'm going to put in 1 as my first number. I'll put in 2 as my second number. I'll put in 3 as my third number. So 1 plus 2 plus 3, the answer I believe should be 6, given my limited mathematical capabilities. When I click continue here on my Math 3 page to go to the answer page, it tells me that the answer is 3. That's definitely not the correct answer. I also have a couple warnings up here at the top, a couple notices telling me that there's no such thing as first number or second number. If I look at Math 4, the actual line number it's pointing at, line 3, is the line here where I was trying to do the arithmetic. So these two parts, first number and second number, it's telling me don't exist. So why don't those two exist? Well, it again kind of comes down to the trap that we don't want to fall into of thinking that a web app is like a desktop application or a JavaScript application, something that executes all in sort of one monolithic place, one monolithic amount of time. Instead, Really what's happening here with our little math problem is we really have 4 separate programs that are running at different times from one another. When the request comes in for the Math 1 page, the browser executes that request, sends back the form, the user then completes the form, and the value from that page gets sent in when we then later execute Math 2. When we execute Math 2, it then executes. It at that time has the value available that was submitted from the Math 1 page, but it never actually makes use of it in any way. So when this page executes, the value that was given from Math 1, the first number variable, is basically ignored. What the Math 2 page actually ends up doing then is simply creating a form, sending that back to the user, where the user can then complete the form. And of course, when they do, the Math 2 script is long since over. When the user does submit the value from the Math 2 page and we go to the Math 3 page, the Math 3 page has access to the value from the Math 2 page that was sent, but it again also ignores that. So the value from Math 1, first number, is long since gone. The value from the Math 2 page has disappeared by the time we actually see the Math 3 form show up in our browser. By the time we actually then get over to our Math 4 page, the first number and the second number from Math 1 and Math 2 were both ignored, right? Neither of them carried on. They're both long since gone at this point. The only value that actually makes it to our final answer page is the third number variable, which is why we weren't getting a warning letting us know that third number was missing, and that's why our answer was actually showing up as the number 3, because that was the only number that was available. So how can we fix this? What I essentially need is I need for when the value from Math 1 is passed to Math 2, I need for Math 2 to somehow remember and propagate on, carry on, passing the value that came from Math 1. When the value from Math 2 is submitted to Math 3, then Math 3 is going to actually not only going to receive the value from Math 2, but it also needs to receive the value from Math 1. How could we make that happen? Well, hopefully from an HTML class or experience you have in the past, you might remember that there's a special type of control, a special type of field that can be added to an HTML form called a hidden field. It's again one of those situations where back in HTML, hidden fields seem just almost ridiculous. Basically, when a hidden field is introduced in HTML, it could be described as being like a text field that the user can neither see nor edit. At the beginning levels, when you're first learning HTML, you might wonder, well, what in the world is the use of a text field that you can't see and the user can't actually edit? Why bother putting something in a form that the user can't see or actually do anything with? Well, the answer is right here. This is exactly the kind of situation where a hidden field can come in handy. When I take the value of first number that's submitted from the Math 1 page, and I need for the Math 2 page to then hold on to that number, to have access to it, and to then pass it along with its own data, the easiest way to do that is to take that value from the Math 1 page, first number, and store it in a hidden field. I can do that here by going to my Math 2 form, putting in a hidden field, giving it a name. I'm just going to keep the name the same, first number, as what it had over on the first page. And then here where the value goes, what I want to do is actually at that point drop in the actual value that was submitted from Math 1 that's called first number. I'm going to do that by echoing it. Echo here into this form the value that it received as part of the post request called first number. Let's jump back over to the browser and take a peek at how that's actually going to end up working. Back in the browser here, if I go back to my Math 1 page, there we go, I'll refresh it. Let's say on Math 1, I'm going to put in a number of 123. When I hit continue, the value of 123 is submitted to the server when the server is asked to execute Math 2. When the server executes Math 2, it will create as part of the output of Math 2 that hidden field which will have this number in it, 123. So I hit submit. Here's my Math 2 form. Based on what the user can see, there's nothing special there, but if I actually go and look at the code that was generated by the execution of the script, I can see right here there actually is an extra hidden field that's a part of the form that's being shown here in the browser called first number, and it has in it the value of 123, the value that was submitted from the Math 1 file. The benefit of that is now when I put in a number for second number, say 234, and I submit that, not only will 234 as second number submit to the third page, but the value of 123 for the first number will submit as well. So the Math 2 page is not only supplying its own value, but it's also carrying on. It's propagating the value that it received from the Math 1 page called first number. Let's use that same technique, go back to our code, and see if we can get all the numbers to carry through. The Math 1 page doesn't need a hidden field because it's only supplying its own number. It's not also having to deal with a value submitted by another page to it. The Math 2 page is submitting its own number, second number, and it's carrying over the value from the first page that's submitted to it. On our Math 3 page, if you think about it, we actually have to carry on 2 extra numbers. The Math 3 page needs to supply its own value, third number, and it needs to carry on the value that came from Math 2, second number, and it needs to carry on the value that came from Math 1, first number. So let's add 2 hidden fields to this one. Hidden field called second number, and what's actually going to be in the second number field is going to be the value that was received as part of the post request called second number. And let me put in a hidden field called first number that's going to carry on the value that was received as part of the post request called first number. There we are. Let's see how that works. Let me go back to page 1 again, refresh, and let's try our original data again. 1 for the first number, 2 for the second number, 3 for the third number, no warnings, and our answer is 6, just as it should be. Let's go back and give it one more try. Back over to my first page again. Let me do 321, second number 432, third number 543. The values all carried on, and we end up on the last page with the correct answer. Right? How is all this actually working? Just to kind of walk through it one more time. Math 1 provides the value of first number. It's page 2. On page 2, the value of first number is stored, in essence, and a value of second number is gathered. It then submits first number and second number. On Math 3, first number and second number are stored, are just held on to in hidden fields, and the third number is supplied. So when Math 3 submits, it submits first number, second number, and third number. When we get to Math 4 then, all 3 of those different numbers are available. They can all be added together and the answer found.